I'm about to show you something that looks completely wrong. You can water your garden for 20 minutes, watch the soil turn dark, see water pooling around your plants, and still have roots sitting bone dry underneath. Then you add fertilizer because the leaves are yellow. You water again because the plants are wilting. You buy another bag of premium soil food because nothing seems to improve. But the fertilizer may not be the problem. The water may never be reaching the roots. And this Australian trick can cost roughly $2 per treatment. It helps dry garden beds absorb water more evenly and makes existing nutrients more accessible. This is not a miracle feed, it is not a secret plant tonic, and it does not magically repair every garden overnight. It solves a different problem. A problem that thousands of Australian gardeners mistake for poor soil, weak plants, or a lack of fertilizer. But before I tell you exactly what the trick is, go outside and do one tiny test. Choose the driest part of your garden bed. Scratch away the mulch until you can see bare soil. Then pour a small amount of water onto the surface. Now, watch carefully. Does the water disappear straight away? Or does it sit there in a shiny bead, spread sideways, run towards the path, or disappear through one narrow crack while the surrounding soil stays pale and dry? If the water refuses to soak in evenly, your garden may not be hungry. It may be water repellent. And pouring more fertilizer onto water repellent soil is like putting groceries outside a locked front door. The food is there, the house is there, but nothing useful is getting inside. This is especially frustrating in hot Australian weather. A garden bed can look damp on top while being dry only a few centimeters below. You water longer, but much of that water runs away, evaporates, or travels down a few preferred channels without wetting the full root zone. So the tomato plant wilts, the rosemary looks tired, the citrus leaves begin to yellow, the flowers stop performing, and because every gardening label tells you to feed stressed plants, you reach for fertilizer. But extra fertilizer cannot help a root system that cannot access moisture. In fact, if salts from repeated feeding build up in dry soil, you can create another layer of stress. The real challenge is not adding more food. The real challenge is getting water back into the soil. That is where the $2 Aussie trick comes in. It is a proper soil wetting agent, used at the label rate. You will see it sold as a soil wetter, wetting agent, re-wetting treatment, or water-saving soil treatment. The container itself may cost more than $2, but one correctly measured application across a small garden bed can work out to roughly that amount. And once you understand what it does, the idea is surprisingly simple. Water naturally holds itself together because of surface tension. That is why droplets form beads. In healthy, receptive soil, water spreads through the small spaces between soil particles. But when soil becomes strongly water repellent, water struggles to make contact with those particles. It beads, pools, or races through a few channels instead of spreading evenly. A wetting agent reduces that resistance. It helps water spread across the soil surface and move into areas that were previously difficult to wet. Think of a dry sponge. If you place a completely dry sponge under a fast-running tap, the first splash can bounce off. But once the sponge begins accepting water, it absorbs far more efficiently. Your garden bed can behave in a similar way. The wetting agent does not feed the plant. It helps create the conditions that allow water and existing nutrients to reach the roots. That distinction matters, because the garden industry is very good at selling visible products for visible symptoms. Yellow leaves? Buy a fertilizer. Dry plants? Buy a moisture tonic. Poor growth? Buy a premium booster. Then, another booster. Then a specialized feed for tomatoes. Another for citrus, another for roses, and another for lawns. Those products can help when plants genuinely need them. But if water is sliding off the soil, you are feeding a root zone that stays dry. The cheapest product is not always the answer. The most expensive product is not always the answer either. Diagnosis is the answer. And this takes less than a minute. After the first surface test, dig a small hole about 5 to 10 centimeters deep, away from major roots. Water the area normally. Wait several minutes, then check the soil inside the hole. If the top is wet, but the soil underneath is dusty, patchy, or dry, you have found the problem. Now let's talk about application, because this is where people often get it wrong. Do not guess the dose. Do not assume that twice as much will work twice as well. And do not pour a random amount of household detergent into the garden because someone online called it a homemade wetting agent. Household cleaners are made for dishes, clothes, floors, or bathrooms. They can contain fragrances, salts, antibacterial ingredients, degreasers, and other additives that were never designed for repeated use around plant roots. Use a product labeled for soil and plants, and follow the directions on that exact container. Formulas vary. Some are liquids, some are granules, and their lasting time differs. The label is not a suggestion, it is the formula. For a liquid product, measure the recommended amount into a watering can or hose applicator. Apply it evenly across the affected bed, not just around the plant stem. Roots do not live in one tiny circle. They spread. So the treatment must cover the broader root zone. For granules, distribute them as evenly as possible. Then water them in exactly as directed. Apply during the cooler part of the day, when the soil is not baking hot. Early morning is ideal, and here is the part many gardeners skip. After applying the wetting agent, water slowly, not one violent flood. Slow, patient watering. Give the first pass time to begin penetrating. Wait a few minutes, then water again. This is called cycle and soak watering, and it can make a huge difference in beds where water normally runs away. A short first cycle begins wetting the surface. A second cycle pushes moisture deeper. A third, if needed, helps create a more even wet zone around the roots. You are not trying to turn the bed into a swamp. You are trying to moisten the soil gradually and evenly. The next day, repeat the simple test. Move the mulch, pour a little water onto the soil, and watch. If the water spreads and disappears instead of sitting in a bead, the treatment is beginning to work. Then check below the surface. The goal is not a dark top layer. The goal is moisture where the roots actually live. And this is where people sometimes think the wetting agent has fed the garden. A struggling plant begins to stand more upright. Leaves stop drooping so badly in the afternoon. New growth looks stronger. The garden stays moist longer after watering. But the product did not create nutrients. It made access possible. Water carries dissolved nutrients through the soil. Roots need moisture to take up those nutrients. When the root zone is evenly damp, the fertilizer you applied earlier may finally begin doing the job you expected it to do. That is why this trick can make a garden appear to respond faster than another round of feeding. But I need to be honest about what it will not do. A wetting agent will not fix root rot. It will not repair badly compacted clay by itself. It will not correct the wrong soil pH. It will not cure fungal disease, remove sap-sucking insects, or replace compost. And it will not rescue a plant whose roots have already died. It solves water repellency. Nothing more, nothing less. If your soil absorbs water normally, save your money. You probably do not need it. If the bed is heavily compacted, you may need aeration and organic matter. If the soil drains too quickly because it is extremely sandy, a wetting agent may help water enter evenly, but compost and mulch are what help the soil hold more moisture over time. That long-term part is important. A soil wetter can open the door, but good soil management keeps the door working. After the bed is accepting water again, add a sensible layer of compost. Do not bury the plant stems. Cover the surface with mulch to protect it from harsh sun and rapid evaporation. Then water deeply enough to reach the root zone, but not so often that the soil stays constantly saturated. Here is what happened in one garden that made me take this problem seriously. A raised vegetable bed looked exhausted by the middle of summer. The basil collapsed every afternoon. The capsicums stopped growing. The tomatoes had curled leaves, and the owner had already applied liquid feed twice. The bed was watered almost every day. From the surface, it looked cared for. But when we scraped away the mulch and poured on a cup of water, the water sat there like it had landed on wax. Then we dug down. The top centimeter was damp. Below that, the mix was dry enough to crumble into dust. All that watering had been wetting the appearance of the garden, not the root zone. We applied a plant-safe soil wetting agent at the label rate, watered slowly in several cycles, and checked the bed again the following morning. This time, moisture had spread through a much wider section of soil. The plants did not transform into giant vegetables overnight. Real gardens do not work like that. But within several days, the afternoon wilting was less severe. The next irrigation soaked in instead of running over the edge. And the owner stopped pouring unnecessary fertilizer onto a bed that had never needed more food in the first place. The cost of the measured treatment was about $2 Australian. $2 to discover that the garden was not starving. It was thirsty behind a locked door. Now, there are a few warnings. First, always follow the product label, especially around edible gardens, pets, ponds, and waterways. Second, do not treat every weak plant automatically. Test the soil first. Third, do not keep reapplying because you enjoyed the first result. Some products last longer than others, and unnecessary use wastes money. Fourth, remember that water-repellent soil can return, particularly after beds dry out severely. Mulch, compost, appropriate watering, and avoiding extreme drying can reduce the problem over time. And finally, do not confuse water penetration with water retention. A wetting agent helps water get in. Organic matter helps hold some of that water in the root zone. Mulch helps stop it leaving too quickly. Those three jobs are connected, but they are not identical. So before you buy another bag of fertilizer, perform the test, move the mulch, pour on a little water. Watch what happens, then look below the surface. Because your garden may already have enough nutrients. It may already have compost. It may already have everything it needs to recover, except access to the water you keep giving it. That is the Australian garden problem nobody notices until the hottest week of the year. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. If this saved you from buying another unnecessary fertilizer, subscribe to the channel. Every video here is built around diagnosing the real problem before spending money on the wrong solution. And tell me in the comments, when you water your garden, does the soil absorb it? Or does the water sit on top and run away? In the next video, I'll show you how to tell the difference between a garden that needs more water, a garden that needs better drainage, and a garden that is being killed by kindness. Because sometimes the driest looking plant is not underwatered. It is drowning.